Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Joining me today on the block is Jonathan Oliveira. How are you doing today, Jonathan?
I'm good. I'm enjoying day one, or well, I guess tomorrow's day one of state of emergency number 3. So
What's happening?
for us, so
What's the difference? Like, I think that's what the funny part is that like emergency break, shut down, lockdown. Like, what is the difference between this new state of emergency?
yeah, for Ontario, they decide to make up whatever kind of twist. It's like a season of Big Brother, just it never has ended.
Yeah, I guess so. I think that what was really happening is the fact that they don't want to say like, hey, we're going to be shut down for over a year. So they're trying to make it seem as though it's not. But like,
And they don't want to like repeat what we've done already. They're like, but this is a little different. We're gonna call it something else.
right. We're going to change the name, rebrand, and come back at you with a new version of this lockdown. It's not the same, just a little bit different. Like, it's the same stuff. But anyways, if this is your first time joining us on the block here for Reality Pop, please do us a favor and subscribe. We are going to be your new hub for all things reality TV. And starting here on the block is Big Brother Canada Season 9. So what were your overall impressions of this episode?
Moved along well. Like it was, one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, which was nice. But I mean, I feel like we've talked a little kind of off air, and I feel like they didn't show a lot of behind the scenes what was going on. So I'm not a live feed watcher, so it'll be interesting to hear your perspective on that today. But yeah, I mean, I liked the competition. It was kind of fun. And I always like Wednesday's veto competitions because they've done a good job with that. So moved along, things happened, moves were made. A lot of people were talking. I feel like there's not one person that they skipped over. You know what I mean? There wasn't one person that was left off to the side. They literally were. Everyone had something to say.
So true. Like, they have been doing a pretty decent job with, telling everybody's story and seeing everybody's perspective. I think it's because nobody's really standing out as a front runner. It seems like everybody is kind of on equal playing grounds. Like it seems like anybody could win. Like, I don't see anybody for sure winning. I don't see anybody for sure being evicted. I don't see anybody for sure having like a good grasp on what's going on in the game. So like, it's just, I think as everybody's just so even keel, they have to show everybody's story in case they emerge next week. And so like they have footage and people know who this person is, So I think that they have
That's true.
ties on everybody.
And they're all intertwined too. Like they all are legitimately like no one's usually you have a couple floaters who just aren't coming to play and you can ignore them. And I think even in past weeks that happened with, Tina and Sarah perhaps, but not this week. It's like, everyone's playing.
So we start off the beginning of the episode with Victoria kind of having a confessional, being like, "This is why you play all sides of the house because literally it doesn't matter who's going." Now, do you agree with her thought process here?
When she said that, I was like, wait, who says that? Like who, when is that the valid, we play all sides. I'm like, no, I don't think you do. Like maybe at first you kind of like play low key or you can play kind of both. But at some point it's going to show and people are going to know and they're not going to trust that because you don't have any loyalties. So you kind of have to pick the right side at the right time, or, adapt and like, pivot, I guess, or just stick with one and hopefully it's not you if someone's going down from that side. But kind of playing both sides historically, I feel like has always landed people in hot water. So she was very confident in it, though. I'll give her that.
Well, I totally agree with you. It's like if you're playing in the middle, you're playing both sides, it's great, but you still have to have somebody that you're actually loyal to. You know what I mean? Like they have to know that you're with them because if you're then playing the other side, it's not going to be like, oh, I thought she was with me, but she's with them. And like, they won't second guess your actions. So yeah, you can play all sides, but I think that you have to be loyal to one side in particular, not just loyal to yourself. Because I agree with you 100% that it will come back to bite you. And we can see the beginning of it maybe coming back to bite her because she goes up and she's giving a little bit of a congratulations to Beth. And she leaves, and Beth is like, "You're going home," and I was like, "Okay." So Beth is supposed to be in an alliance with her, so Victoria, Ty, and Jed, and herself, and they're called the Ghost Peppers. And so the fact that she's so easily to be saying like, "You're going home," I was like, man, they're painting Victoria for an epic fall. You don't
Yeah.
like, well, you don't particularly like Beth. So how did you feel about her having this position, like the head of household position, and saying that?
Well, my impersonation of Beth it would be like like every time she had to make like a move or just oh my god, do it. It was really funny because that was like her the whole episode. But and you know, yeah, I liked her a little bit more because I like kind of moves being made, and even if it's just kind of putting them out there for the possibility of it. But you know, and Victoria's problem too is when you do that, you don't have anyone playing both sides. You don't have anyone backing you up. And where Rohan, you know, is like, you saw Braden go to bat for him and kind of like plant seeds where he needed to be. And I think that really worked into, you know, making this plan happen. And that's the problem right there. It's like Victoria doesn't have anyone being like, oh no, we can't. Because even, you know, Ty and Jed are like, well, with Latoya, she did us dirty. You know what I mean? Like later on, they talk about that. So it's, yeah, it's going to catch up to you. I like their little interaction. I mean, at this point, I don't know what Victoria could have done this week other than what she was doing. She was just trying to kind of like lay low, but just not being, and maybe this happens later on, but just, you know, I definitely would have come clean to about who, like, because you can, that you were HOH and that you protected them and why and all these, you know, excuses to really ensure kind of trust. I wouldn't just be like, oh, you know, we're in something and just hope for that because you never know. And but I mean, I think she did what she needed to do this week, having kind of already made her bed these past weeks anyway.
That's the people were coming for me a little bit, being like, oh, like, why don't you like how Spicy V is playing and she's playing such a good game and she's being so dominant? And I'm like, okay, she's playing an entertaining game. Absolutely. Like, I'm enjoying watching what she does, but I think it's too messy for it to be a winning game. And I said to many people, I'm like, I will eat my words if she wins this game. If this was a winning strategy, I will eat my words. And it looks like, no, I won't have to have a bite. So, like, she really didn't set herself up well with the people that are in the house for them to want to have her to stay in there. They will vote for her to win, but they're never going to let her get there.
Well, I would suggest that maybe those people she's serving their purpose in the game right now. Because when she was serving my purpose the other week, I was like, oh yeah, I like you. Oh, okay. And then when she wasn't serving my purpose anymore, I was like, you need to go. And so, but it's funny because she's playing both sides, there's no loyalty as a viewer that I have to her as well. Where I'm like, one week I was like, yes, go for it, make those moves. And then the next week I was like, what are you doing? I need you to leave. Someone needs to get rid of you. And so, you know, there's no loyalty in the house and there's no loyalty from the viewers. So I would suggest that maybe the people who are, you know, getting on you and backing her up are those who are kind of in favor of kind of where she is or who she's aligned with right now, perhaps. But yeah, I mean, very entertaining game, but not, in my opinion, a winning one. And I don't think they would let her get near the end because she's won a lot of things as well. So.
And she's willing to make those super flashy moves, which is obviously great for entertainment. She knows that she's on a TV show. She is playing for Canada in a sense, like she's playing for the audience. But
you can't trust that. You can't trust that. As a player in the house, you'd be like, I don't know what she's going to do next week. She might send me home. I'm like, I have no idea.
Out. Yeah. She's out. Like, I wouldn't even let her, like, as soon as I had the chance, just seeing how she... after the Latoya thing, I'd be like, okay, you're done, like, for sure. Like, I know that you enjoyed that week in that move, but like, if I was working with her and I saw how she was like willing to put me, like, to threaten me as part of her alliance to go up, you know, to make sure that Latoya stays up on the block, but she wants to work with Latoya, like all that messy lying, I would just be like, no. And also, they didn't really show it this episode. I can't remember if they did last episode or not, but pretty much everybody except Rohan and Brayden figured out that she was the ghost HOH. And so the fact that she was lying that whole time, they were be able to watch her lie to these people and crying and be like, I can't believe they would do that. And like, they're so heartless, so mean, so cruel. And she was just so easy for her to play that other side.
And now people have seen that. You're exposed.
I would definitely, I agree with you. I would have come clean about that. I'd be like, I'm sorry, like I had to do it, like immediately. And I mean, I would have played it a lot differently as well, but.
Yeah, but I mean, like if those people are loyal to you, like if Ty and Jed and like Beth and Kiefer and, you know, potentially maybe some of the others even, you can, because you kept them safe, would be loyal to you. And there's really just like maybe, you know, Brayden who'd be upset, who's not winning anything, or Roe or something who's, you know, winning POVs but not necessarily winning HOHs. I would then just pick a side. I would pick the majority and be like, I protected you. This is what I did. You know, this is why, this is what I want you. I couldn't tell you right away, but yeah. And so I don't really understand a lot of that because I'm just like, what are you doing right now? And because everyone is very aware of what you're doing, and they've just seen you lie, so you lose all trust, and they'll be able to recognize those kind of lies. Oh, look, there's a cat.
I know. I was watching. That's why I was smiling so intensely because the cat decided to steal the show. How do you feel about Victoria, Kitty? So we see
more concerned about the dog next to me.
And Tina talking a little bit. Tara hates the fact that she's going to have to play nice, but she's on the block, so she can't really say what she really wants to say, which is just like, why do you need to be so mean? Like I personally haven't seen anything that anybody's really done in the house to her that is particularly offensive and that she should like hate people so much to need to like be coming at them. Like I haven't seen that. Okay, maybe they're messy. They're also like 15 years younger than you. Like they're messier. Yeah. Who cares?
I mean, I would not be better in the house with that. Like I have no idea what kind of like what she was referencing, other than maybe she's tired. I mean, I'd be in the house for a day and be over those people. I would be like hate all of them, but I'm not good in like confined spaces with a lot of people. So, but you know, it's yeah, I'm interested in hearing more of kind of what was going on that really brought that up.
I think why I don't vibe with Tara just bad mouthing anybody, she's not funny. If she was funny when she was like laying little digs or like in her delivery style or something, or at least I chuckled with how she was being a little bit petty or whatever, then I can probably get behind her. But she's just like seems mean.
Like a Debbie Downer.
Like, yeah, who asked you to be here? Like, I don't know. Like, she's not fun. I don't enjoy her commentary. I'm not rooting for her. She's just kind of mean to the people that I kind of like in the house, and she's not funny. I think it's just she's not funny.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think of that, but I think you're right. I mean, from what I've seen, don't mind Tara at all. But yeah, she's definitely low energy. And probably if there was a lot more, like, if she was like this, like, imagine, like, Ro's been on the block a lot, and he's not, like, miserable. And she's being a bit miserable this week, so it's not enticing me to like want to watch more of her. And I'm like, gosh, if she was on the block like 3 or 4 weeks in a row, and we've seen a lot of that happen, and there's people who are super bubbly and nice and funny and all these other things, and they live on the block. But if she was on the block like 4 weeks in a row, I couldn't imagine what she'd be like, because she is kind of energy down, like miserable, like over worrying about every little thing. And I mean, what we've seen and what they've shown is just those pieces together and not really her having a lot of fun. So yeah, she'd bring the energy down for sure.
So Tina doesn't think that they would have the balls to, put up Vic as a replacement. And I think that's like a fair assessment. Like it is a pretty big move. And we know that Victoria is not going to just go down without a fight. And that's kind of what Tara is worried about. She's actually kind of worried about sitting next to Victoria because of the fact that she is going to stop at nothing. And that could mean really, really damaging Tara's, in my opinion, non-existent game. So,
I mean, best case for her is that Tina wins veto so that Tina can save herself and pull her off the block. But I agree. I would be terrified if, Ro's a big target, so sitting next to him is not as bad. And although Vic's could be a big target as well, it's like, yeah, she has a lot more connections with people in the house and possibly could sway some votes and convince people. So, I mean, that's a tough one.
And also, I think the fact that Tara isn't, they haven't showed this in the show, and I don't know if they will actually show it on any future episodes, but Tara, she's planning on coming for the two boys. Tara and Tina, like pretty much everybody except for that trio, is planning on putting up Jed and Ty.
Yeah, I think Tara said it like early on when Kyle left. I mean, someone else left. Who's the maybe the second week person? Josh? Yeah. When Josh left, I think she said it to him or something before. They did show that once where she was like, "I'm going after the boys."
And she still is, like, those are who she would put up. And so I think that also a little bit of her guilt around the situation is coming up. Like, oh, like Vic could easily tell them that I'm actually coming for them. And if they get spooked, they might not want to keep me because Vic isn't necessarily coming for them, not right away anyways, and she hasn't really stated it as much as Tara has. So I think that that's more so what Tara is being scared of, is the fact that, ooh, she might actually go home if Vic exposes some of the secrets that she's learned.
I think the big argument's going to be, can Tara win anything versus Vic can. So Vic's a big wild card where Tara's like, sure, I don't want you here, but you can probably beat me and I probably won't win it. I haven't won anything yet, so that kind of things. Yeah, I think that's what they're considering. I think they were very, Ty and Jed were talking about later on, they were like, well, wait a minute here. Like, Tara's not really our people, is what they said. But, is she, is like Vic good for our game kind of a thing. So it's a really interesting, and they're thinking it through. So it's going to be one of those calls,
Yep. Okay, so we see Tara and Kiefer having a little bit of a fight. So Kiefer thinks that Tara is putting too much trust into Ro, and Tara thinks that Kiefer is putting too much trust into the boys. Who do you think is right here, or do you think they're just both right?
I just thought it was so funny. That little fight went from like, I was like, are they joking? It went from like 0 to 100 like real quick. So I mean, I think. No, I think Tara's right. I don't think she's putting too much trust in Ro. I think Ro knows that he needs people, and I think he will keep and protect people. I mean, he didn't take Austin off the block, but as the numbers dwindle, I do think he'll actually become more loyal to the people who are going to be on his side, because he's never going to be on the other side. So, having said that, I do think that Kiefer is probably feels a lot safer than he should overall, because those three, Jed, Ty, Beth, are going to have each other's back, and he's definitely their fourth. I mean, he might make it into a final three if he won or something like that, but it's yeah. So I probably tend to agree with her, but I just love that little mini fight because it just seems to come out of nowhere.
Well, I think, okay, I definitely could see both people's perspective. I actually feel as though Kiefer is acting out or saying these things for the fact that Ro is actually coming for Kiefer to a certain extent. Like, Ro doesn't like Kiefer. Right. Kiefer doesn't like Ro. They have their little, like, they haven't been able to get along since before the pantry fight, but like, they just haven't really been working together. Kiefer has been saying a lot of digs on the feed about Rohan. Like, he just really doesn't like him. And so I think that fear, but Tara's putting so much trust in having Rohan around, but I think that Kiefer is worried that Rohan, he would be the replacement nominee if one of those boys came down.
Didn't he take didn't he take Kyle out? Like, wasn't he Kiefer HOH that week?
I can't remember. Kiefer.
I thought so.
Well, he always wanted to take out Kyle. Even though he was pretending like Rohan was the target, because he felt as though Kyle was more likable and was able to like get along with people a little bit better than Rohan.
He's at the very least took out his like best friend in the game, and he's aware of that. So you're obviously going to want that person out too. So yeah, Kiefer definitely wants him out, and Ro's probably very aware of that, I'm sure.
And so then on the other hand, though, I think that the boys are not really coming for Tina and Tara right away. I don't even think they're coming for Kiefer right away. I think that they would go, well, maybe Kiefer before, like, maybe Kiefer would be actually sooner than later. I think that they would actually probably get by more quickly or like more easily than Kiefer would, because you know, Tara doesn't win anything, Tina hasn't won anything, but Kiefer actually has. And so I could see him becoming a target before the two of them. So I don't know why they're mad about that, because those boys, they're not really coming for them. They're not really that big of a threat. So I don't know. So Ro actually and Beth have been having a lot of conversations that they haven't really showed. They showed the Wendy's meal on Monday's episode, and they kind of come to the agreement that, hey, like, you're not the target. I'm gonna pretend like you're my target, but really I'm gonna backdoor Victoria. So like, win the veto or get somebody else to win the veto, and we're going to take you down, and Victoria's going to go back up. So Rose 75 believes this, because he does think that if Beth was really lying about this, he would have put up Tina and Tara. She would have put Tina and Tara, and like then just backdoored him, and like that would have been the plan. So do you agree? Do you think that Rohan should agree with Beth, like, or like put his trust in Beth? Do you think 75%?
Well, I mean, you can never fully, but the fact that and I would just play it like, when I play these games, I'm just like, you know, I always play like I'm the one going, but and sometimes it works out. And but you know, I just feel like you always have to know that that person can send you out. It's always worse when the person doesn't care enough about you to even like falsely put up this hope. And the fact that she's made a path for him at surviving this week as a possibility, and she's probably done it because she's like, you know what, if he ends up staying, if he ends up, even, you know, if I didn't put him up, if I did whatever, he can still get picked for the veto and win it. So if he ends up staying, I want to not have him as my enemy, because he's not currently. And so you know, the fact that they have that connection is a good sign. So we should have some faith, because when people are just dismissive and they're like, I'm not even going to bother, I want you out, and I'm on the other side, and who cares? That's like worst case scenario.
Because there's no arguing, there's no giving good pleas, like
there's not, because there's nothing you can do. So it's just who wins. And so yeah, so the fact that she's created that route for him, and allows him, I mean, I think he did have to win it in order for that to happen. So but the fact that that path is there, I think it's a good sign, and I think he could have some faith and trust. And I do think that if, you know, he wins veto, because we haven't talked about that yet, and if he stays this week, then you know, they will probably have a stronger connection because of it.
For sure. Like,
so it's a win-win for both of those two people.
100%. So what if it ended up being Rohan versus Victoria on the block at the end of the week? Who do you think? Okay, I think it'd have to be two things. So who would you want to go, and who do you think would have gone?
Well, we have draft picks, and you know, I'm only left with Ro. So with week after week, my people going. So I would definitely want.
I have one left as well. I only got Jed left. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I had Josh and I had Latoya. I only had 3.
Oh, right. Okay. So yeah, I definitely would, you know, even subconsciously I've been like, Ro is my person. But yeah, I would want Ro for that fact. And you know, I do like rewarding better games, and I just feel, and we've all said they've lots of mistakes, a lot of sloppiness, but just Victoria game's so sloppy and messy, and I love when people get their just desserts, and I'd be like, you know what, you had some good moments and made great TV, but this is what you get for playing like that. And so I'd rather Rose stay, I think, even if it was unbiased, because he's just smarter in that sense with how he's been playing than she has.
100%. I'm so with you. Like, I was like, I just can't have somebody act like that and play her game like that and get to the end and win, because I wouldn't enjoy playing with her. And I always kind of judge people like, oh yeah, I would like to strategize with them. Oh yeah, like I think that we would get along in the game. And like, that's how I kind of watch and look at people, how they strategize and who I would think about, who I'd align with or whatnot. And like, I would always be like, no, she's got to go, because I don't know what she's going to do. She has to get out. And so that would, yeah, I would want her to be gone, because I just don't want to see her be rewarded, like you say, with that type of terrible gameplay. Like, it's too messy. I like being able to figure out what people are most likely going to do, for me to play my best game. I can't play with wild cards. It's kind of like if you play poker or something with someone that doesn't know how to play poker, it actually, to me, isn't fun, because part of poker is kind of like, okay, what would be the optimum move for the other person playing using these things, and then trying to like build your strategy on how you want to play your hand. And so if somebody's just like willy-nilly, like all in on something that doesn't make any sense, you're kind of like, okay, so if they were like a really optimum play, like what would they be doing? And so you wouldn't be able to rationalize and really figure out what their gameplay is, and it just makes you play poorly. So
oh yeah, absolutely. And I've yeah, board games are funny, because there's a few board games I could think of too where like the person I've been playing with isn't smart enough to understand, and then you like can't play around that, you know what I mean? You're just like, okay, whatever. Like, it doesn't make anything fun because you can't work within it, you can't try to figure it out or anything like that. Yeah. And I've played an online reality game with a wild card, and it was super, 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 super difficult and not fulfilling, because yes, I did win that one, but not fulfilling because of that. It just made it harder, and it wasn't like I was like, oh my gosh, thinking the whole time, if this person wins, then it's just you don't even you don't care if you win. It's just like you don't want to, like I said, reward that. You don't want that person winning, because it's just chaos shouldn't have that ending to it. It doesn't matter if it's your side or someone else's side winning, but the fact that people were playing strategic, you can appreciate those elements to that game. And I appreciate her bold moves, I absolutely do. And listen, if she ends up being on the block this week and ends up talking herself out of it, then that is a step back in the right direction on having to rely on more strategy and figuring people out and making the right moves. So we'll see.
See, that's totally true. Which is the board game that you're saying that you played that?
Oh my God, I was playing Chameleon. Do you know what that one is? It's
No.
like basically where you, like, one person's the liar in the room. And so it's like Among Us or something, like where one person's the imposter. It's like whatever, it's like that. But the person didn't understand. And I'm not going to say his name, but he is a host on television currently. And so he did not understand how the game worked. And so he didn't know when he was lying because he didn't understand it. And it made it all terrible. Fun game, but it was just like, I'm like, I can't figure out if you're lying or not because you don't know how to play this game.
And I was talking to my mom about this because like I was really frustrated in that org that we were a part of, that there was so many games that were luck, and I was trying to I really like knowing the rules about things because I want to be able to play at my optimum. Like I want to be able to play the best game that I could possibly play. So I need to know all the rules and all the parameters so I can do the best that I can. And so having a wild card, it's like, well, they're not playing by the rules, so having random doesn't, for me, playing make things more fun and exciting because I take pleasure in able to figuring out the best strategy to win a game with people playing by the same rules. And so I think that if I were playing with Victoria, I wouldn't think that she made the game more fun for me to participate in. And that would just mean I'd be like, I got to get you out because I mean, win.
And if she convinced me that she was 100% on my side, that would be different. But I don't think she's convincing anybody.
No.
And so that's the difference there. Like if he played sloppy, made these crazy moves, whatever, and I just didn't agree with him. But as a player, you convinced me and I was like on board and supporting you but no one's protecting her. No one's really supporting her. They all know who she is and the moves she's made. So you know, it hasn't been good.
So we see Beth and Victoria having a little chat in like one of the OLG rooms. And I'm pretty impressed with how well Beth is able to kind of lie to Victoria, because like the intention is if someone comes down, Victoria is going to be going up as a replacement. And Victoria is kind of being like, yeah, girl, like enjoy your room. Like this is your, this is your HOH, and like being quite supportive. And I don't even know if I could like lie to Victoria's face like that, because I would feel too guilty. But after Beth leaves, she's like, they can't be as good at this game as I am. What do you think?
Beth's winning her way back in my books, my good books, a little bit with kind of how she's been playing this week, minus sitting behind her boy and hugging him like this when the family things came on last episode. Drives me crazy. Drives me absolutely crazy. I'm like, you haven't been dating for 10 years or anything like that. Like, you're like, oh, I love you. It just reminds me of like university and people being all over each other. And no, I'm not bitter, because I had someone too, don't worry. But I mean, it wasn't like, it's just gross. Anyway, but what was the question about when Beth left?
Yeah, Victoria said that when Beth left, that like,
yeah, I mean, Victoria's a little bit into herself too much, and playing that up to cameras is not, I don't know, it just doesn't make me like love them. It doesn't win me over when someone's that kind of conceited and just kind of into every move they're making. Have some humility, like a little bit of humble pie, and yeah, and we're not seeing any of that. We're just seeing a very confident, confident.
If she were to look, I mean, it's enjoyable to watch on a periphery, but as a game player, her game's terrible. But I wish that she had a little bit of self-reflection here and being like, okay, that worked, that didn't work. Like, oh shoot, like I really need to put in some work with Ty, Jed, etc., and talk to them and make them feel better about the LaToya thing. Like, not just, she didn't really clean up all of her mess and her loose ends. And if she did that and got people to be really supportive of her, I'd be like, yes, you are an excellent game player, because you were able to create all this mess and people are still willing to go to bat for you. But
yeah, the problem right now is that Victoria, like if she was a character in something that I was doing, like a project I was working on, I'd be like, ooh, there's not dynamic enough. I'd be like, it's very kind of one note. And yeah, she needs to do stuff like that to really kind of change that up and like work with it week by week. And I don't think she's really adapted very well to that. She's just kind of playing the one way, and it's just sloppy. So but we didn't see as much of the ball pit this episode, if at all. And when is the ball? Can I ask them, like, why aren't they sleeping in like rock beds or something like that? Why do they all get to sleep in beds this year?
I don't know.
They're like, we're just gonna have a ball pit, and we're not gonna do anything with it. Several weeks in, still nothing.
I think that the have-nots, they're doing like the cold showers is something that they have to do, and obviously,
yeah, but like you have the room. Clearly, you filled it with balls. You could have just like put a wall there, like just block up the door and have nothing. Or I just don't know. I'm like, I hope something's coming, because that will be a big miss. That is going to be a boot, not a toot, in my opinion. If they don't do anything with that room, I'm like, why do they all get beds? Like, why do they all get beds this year?
I'm not sure what the angle is here. Maybe something's going to switch up and change. I don't know, but we were talking about it, I think, first episode, we wanted a Murphy beds out there. Something like
they get beds, and one of them gets like saved off of by like Skip the Dishes or whatever. I'm like, these are some pretty easy have-not weeks for some of these people. So
100%
comparatively to previous seasons. Yeah.
So Jed says that he has had a crush on Beth since day one, and BB is here to troll you, Jonathan. Hi, Jed told Beth that he loves her. Does Jonathan not believe in true love?
That's not trolling me, because I have an answer for that. Define true love, because I think that's stupid. You can absolutely love someone, but you can love many people. I don't even like. soulmates necessarily.
Ooh.
No, but I think there's people that you're connected with, past lives, potentially all that stuff. Don't get me wrong, but I believe in people that you can be very connected with, and people that you are definitely meant to meet in life. Um, but yeah, I saw that little like "I love you" kind of moment that was like not really saying it, but you know what it is? It's grown people acting like they're children, like teenagers. And that's what bothers me more than anything, because they're caught up in their hormones and, you know, stuff like that.
I mean, but the
I
environment,
don't find that cute. I don't watch Bachelor and Bachelorette either. So I
the
don't know.
environment is a little bit kind of like high schooly. It gets a little bit cliquey. It gets a little bit like, I'm
Yeah.
on your side, you're on my side. Oh, let's sleep in the bed together. I'm the household. Like, I don't know. It is kind of a high school environment. So I
Yeah,
kind of,
and I can take that up to a point, but then when they get like all, like I said, like university lovey-dovey and stuff like that, I'm like, and listen, I get there's been like long-lasting relationships, marriages, many in the Big Brother house, so I get it can be very real for a lot of people, but the way that they're doing it, and more so Beth than him, it just is just that we all knew that girl, and I'm just not a fan. Although Beth's winning me over this week, just not in that kind of particular subcategory.
I thought it was funny though when he was like, it was kind of like the morning after talk when he gets out of the bed, whatever, and he's like, "Can I get your number?" I thought that was kind of cute.
Yeah. That's
One
a fun
night stand with Beth.
thing.
Cute. Okay, so Jed calls all the house guests into the living room, and the have-nots. Somebody's going to be receiving from Canada the skip the dishes pass. So they're going to be skipping the rest of the week of have-nots, which you're annoyed by. People want to know what you think here. Hold on, before we continue with that. Do you believe in lust? I never.
Yeah, lust is a real thing, but you can have lust and act like your age, instead of a little tween or something like that. It's where they're experiencing it for the first time, perhaps. So there's an excuse. But just don't. I just like people who are more mature in general. I mean,
What would you need to see or not see, or see to feel as
most things I'm seeing is just fine. I was just saying the like straddling him from behind and like hugging onto him when he's getting these messages of people you have no idea who they are, and like it's just that I'm just like in front of everybody. I'm like, save those moments for yourself or whatever. There's just kind of, it's just
Oh, Jonathan, you're gonna
most of it's fine. I'm not
Canada by the end of the season. You're like, oh my god, I want to go to the wedding.
about that one. Maybe if there's great cake, then I'll go.
So the have-nots called to the living room, and somebody's going to be saved by Canada for the skip the dishes pass. Who do you think it was going to be?
Oh, I absolutely thought it was going to be Ro.
Me too. I mean, he's basically been on slop his entire experience in the Big Brother house. I think except for maybe 1 week. So I definitely thought that he deserved it, and I was happy for him to have it. If they're going to have this sponsor, infusion every week, like it's fine. I'm not.
Can we take a moment in case someone from Skip is watching? I will say this: Uber Eats has crazy fees all over the place, costs so much. When I order from Skip the Dishes, which was also last night, it's refreshing to see that it's pretty straightforward and the fees are fairly low, and you could there's like the one fee and then the tip. And I like that, Skip the Dishes. However, your little app it's bugging because it'll be like 23 minutes out and then I get a call they're downstairs. So I mean, like, the app sucks. It's not user friendly. Having said that, and it takes 19 years to get your food. But having said that, I do appreciate the fact that there are not all these crazy hidden fees with like all these fake names to it. So anyway, little shout out to Skip.
Yeah, well, thanks for the endorsement. Maybe that they're gonna want to sponsor this, and you'll get like skip the dishes for a lifetime, Jonathan.
Do it. Or like, I mean, they'll probably just give me like $5 off my next order, but I'll take it. I'll take it.
The app tester and gets free orders.
I can listen. I order almost every day. I'll give you all of the information you need.
This is something. So, So Kiefer's getting a little bit of annoyed with the fact that it seems as though Brayden is more in the Sunsetters than he is. And so he's kind of complaining to Ty and Jed about this. And I think it's actually true. Like, I think it's fair for him to be feeling this way because Brayden is kind of involved in a lot of the conversations, and Kiefer doesn't necessarily want to be talking about some of these things in front of Brayden because he doesn't feel as though he's in the Sunsetters. So what do you think about the Brayden
So,
Kiefer?
yeah, absolutely, and rightfully so. But also, like, I want to, Kiefer, that's part of the game. When you have a duo and you're breaking them up, yeah, get rid of the weaker one because the weaker one will, kind of merge themselves with other people, and they're probably there already and all that kind of stuff. Like Braden's doing, he's like working his, and I like Braden a lot. So I'm like, do well, great. Want to see you at the end for sure. And but that's your mistake, is that you got rid of Austin where Austin was never going to. Austin has a hard time. That's why she was such a big target. Yes, she won some stuff, but she had a hard time integrating with the masses. And if you kept that person in the house, they would still be in that position. Whereas Brayden can maybe take your place with some other people, and that's more dangerous. The relationships are such a huge part of the game. So, just because someone will put you up doesn't mean you have to get rid of them. Someone might take your place in a group of people. That's way more dangerous down the line. And you kept that person. So that's a mistake. Take out the weaker person, keep the stronger person in the house. To always kind of be
social threat. Yeah. Like Brayden is such a social threat. And him appearing to be a lone soldier is like a very dangerous place for a very social person to be in.
Exactly, and everyone likes him, so it's like that's on you. You made that mistake. Austin, there's had a lot of problems with a lot of people, so.
Agreed, Jonathan. So the veto picks are Beth picks Brayden, Rohan picks Tina, Tara picks Tashawn. So Victoria's not picked for the veto. She's actually going to be the host for this veto competition. I don't know if they said the name of it, but we do learn that it's sponsored by Weber. And these are, I guess, a grill company. And the winner is going to actually get a grill. So I do like seeing prizes being infiltrated into any games show that I'm watching. Like, make them win more shit.
So two things I want to say. So the pick could not have been better for me, who I want Rohan to, because I'm like, okay, out of the boys, that one doesn't win anything. Great. Out of the, everyone else, it's like, yeah, you are probably the stronger competitor in these challenges. So great. So I was like, that's good for Rohan. But also you see Tina mention that she's been promising her husband a barbecue. Where's my flyer? $98 at Walmart, Tara. I was like, it was Tara that mentioned that she was trying to get her husband for the last 3 years a barbecue or something like that. $98 at Walmart. I just looked.
I have a barbecue that I never use. Tara, if you have a barbecue, like, you can have it.
I was like, you would have thought it was like, a John Deere tractor for their
mega grills that like Guy, whatever his name is, like uses on his show. Maybe she wants like a grill.
They're not. Listen, I'm not anyone's financial situation. Who knows? And I get it. And there's years where I eat rice and that's all I can eat. But trust me, I get it. Having said that, at my poorest, I could still afford, and I did afford, and I went out and bought a barbecue at Walmart. So, I mean,
I have to also say that I don't know if they do it in the States, but in Canada, we have the shopping channel. So not QVC, but the shopping channel is similar. And they always have payment plans. So I got a Vitamix. So Vitamix are very expensive blenders. They're like a $700 blender, but I paid for it for $50 a month for a year. I was like, give me that Vitamix. Like,
my Peloton's coming next week. I didn't pay for that outright. That's on a monthly plan.
Exactly. So I would have 100% bought a barbecue for hubby on Christmas, like on the shopping channel, pay like $22 a month and get like a super top of the line, nice barbecue. He wouldn't know the difference. $22 a month is very affordable. I'm just guessing, but it's very affordable.
I just thought it was very funny that she was like, we've been trying for 3 years. And I was like, are they that expensive? And I went and looked them up afterwards because I was like,
maybe.
Okay,
Okay,
no,
so
they're not.
Maybe they have one already and she's trying to like rationalize buying a new one.
Perhaps.
That might be why I'm like, oh, like we don't need one right now, honey. Like, but she really wants to get a new one for him, but like they have one that can suffice. Maybe that's why.
I just thought it was a funny moment, but yeah.
I clocked it as well. So we see Victoria dressed up as a piece of corn and she's twerking as a corn. She's still popping as corn. And basically what they had to do is there's some items for the grill. So there's some pineapple, there was a hot dog, and there was the corn that were in a particular order on a grill. Not real popcorn, or not real corn, not real items. And so they have to toss the corn into the hole, so kind of cornhole, and then they have to toss the pineapple on a ring and then flip a hot dogs, or 3 hot dogs, I think, into a bun. So I like these challenges that have different stages, and it tests different things. So first you got to memorize this, like, you know, what the arrangement is on the grill.
Although there was only 9 items, it wasn't like, and you could do it like a clock. So it wasn't like a crazy, you know, I mean, we know we all memorize phone numbers, which are, you know, 7 digits with an area code. It's even, you know, 10. So it's easy for us humans to memorize 7 to 10 digits, no problem. So with there only being 9 items, I was like, and technically you only need to remember where 6 of them are, because then you can fill in the blanks with the other ones, you know? So I didn't think that memory was too hard, but
it was an element that you might forget where things are at the end of doing all these other little things.
Yeah, you could screw up for sure.
Very easily. You can be like, oh, was the corn here? Or was it at 6 o'clock or was it 7 o'clock? I don't remember. Oh, let me put it this way. And so, yeah, there was a few phases. It seemed it was a little bit challenging because after they got everything in their specific spots, they then had to lob all of these items off of a spatula onto the grill again. Mm-hmm. Once they got all the items onto the grill, then they had to rearrange it and lock in their time. So Rohan goes and locks in his time pretty quickly. Braden did a pretty good job in this competition. Mm-hmm. Ty didn't seem to be doing quite well. Kiefer had a little bit of a dig at him, being like, can we replace him because he sucked?
That was good. Yeah. Like, we're going to have to replace him with Ro. I was like, honestly, smarter move. No. But,
smart move. But like, also want Ty there because he sucks. So.
Yeah, true. But I mean, I felt bad for Tara because that last part, like the physicality to the distance and all that, wasn't different for anyone. And it should be, because being taller, having more upper body strength, like there was no way that she was getting that before the guys. I mean, they ran out of time. So I was just like, I definitely felt bad for her because that was more of a taller man's challenge than it was a shorter female challenge. And I was like, oh, I don't love when they do that stuff, because it was the end thing and everything else was very just equal anyway. It's not like it favored, you know, women the first half of it. It was just kind of equal. And then just the distance and the strength that you needed,
and the cumbersomeness of like that big spatula. If your arms are this short, like you can't even.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. And just being a shorter person, and I feel like she's tiny. Like I feel like she's like really short, and
I feel like she's like 5'1" type deal.
Yeah, so I'm like, there was no way. I felt really bad for her because I was like, ugh, you know. I mean, listen, the other stuff she wasn't leading either. Ro was, but it just like that really put a stop to it. I feel like so, yeah.
I totally agree with you there, because it was only the guys that seemed to be able to be doing decent at it. Who else was playing?
It was
Tara.
Tina.
I didn't see how she was doing with the grill part. She seems like she's taller, but I can't really tell.
Yeah, I think Tara was doing the worst, and I think Tina was kind of just as bad as Ty, and And then yeah, Ro and Braden were doing the best out of the two, obviously. But yeah, and they are probably the taller. I mean, there's no necessarily reason why Ty should have been bad, but the other guys were like the taller of the two. I feel like.
Well,
So.
we'll just pretend that Ty's pretending to be bad at these things. Because he doesn't want the noms to change. Like he definitely says, even after we learn who wins, that he wants to keep the noms the same. But he sucks at the competition. But what if he was throwing it a little bit because he didn't want to win and have Beth want him to take off Rohan?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's the case, but I mean, absolutely. You know you're safe anyway. I always think if you know you're safe anyway, and unless it's vital, but it's not for him, like unless he absolutely needed to save, Victoria or something, or make sure nothing happens. But at the end of the day, if you're like, okay, well this, and plus there's a bunch of you voting kind of in your group. There's still, Jed, there's still Kiefer, like you can all decide together kind of a thing. So, but ultimately, like, unless you really needed to do that, I wouldn't have won either. I would have absolutely have thrown it.
And another thing too, like a lot of people in some of the games that I've played are been like, oh, like she's not a comp beast or whatever, she doesn't win. I'm like, but there's a difference though. Whenever, like what I've noticed is if my game is on the line and I need to win, I'm able to do so. And same with you, or like find somebody within the group that you're working with that's going to be able to win and take you off. And so,
yeah, absolutely,
exactly. So
my specialty, I feel like.
There's no urgency though, and if you don't need the win. And so I think that could also be playing into Ty a little bit. Like he might not be specifically throwing it,
right? But he knows that his neck's not on the line, is what you're saying. So there's no like, little power up there that you get from like, I'm going home if I don't do this. Yeah,
exactly. And I think that's also why Rohan is winning, is because it's do or die for him. He needs to get this to happen, but everybody else is like, well, it's not really going to be me.
Well, I mean, Ro said he would be throwing these. He didn't want to win competition because he needs to, or else he'd be going home. So I'm like, yeah, you're right.
So true. So spoiler alert, Rohan wins his third veto in a row. They cannot catch Rohan. And it's a he's making me like him more, I guess, now that he's more of an underdog. Like I'm appreciating his game a little bit better. It could be because people are more receptive to wanting to work with him, and so it doesn't seem like he's not reading the room well. But I'm liking Rohan, like, so I'm happy that he won this. I was like, good job.
Still in the game. I'm still in the game.
So after Beth is like, oh shoot, okay, like I want to kill me.
That's what she was doing the whole episode.
Well, I mean, she's nervous because like she's gonna have to pull the trigger on. It was all talk before, but now that Ro is coming down, does she have what it takes to actually put up Victoria? Did you think that she was going to be able to do it?
I questioned. There was so much buildup to it. I was like, usually when they do that, they kind of show what's not going to happen. You know what I mean? And so I was like, I don't know. I was on the fence. I was like, you better do it. But I was on the fence. And then kind of how, after the competition, they kind of went in the bathroom and how all that conversation was going.
Mm-hmm.
Once her and Braden were speaking about it, I was like, oh, I think this is going to happen. Yeah.
BBCan asked, if Vic was nominated initially and Ro did not play, who do you think would have won the veto? Braden.
I mean, he didn't have them right, but he had most of them.
With most correct.
Yeah, and the time did run up, so no one else was locked in. So, yeah, I mean, if Vic was nominated initially, and I do think it's a physicality thing, that last part of that challenge. So, I strong. We saw that in the first HOH comp, but it's like when they were in the teams, but I do think she would have had just the height, that you need to really kind of get that momentum with that flipper. And like Braden said, you really need to flip it high in the air. So just being higher up on the ground, I think that's an advantage. So I do still think Braden would have beaten Vic.
Me too. I do. Even though she is strong, and she would have the determination, I just don't know if she would have the physical strength to be able to do it as quickly and as well as Braden and Rohan did. So
Yeah.
I think it would have been Braden, which would have been okay. So what would have happened if Braden won it? Do you think that he would have used it on Tara or Victoria?
Well, no, because if he takes, they probably would have threatened him and saying that they would have put a row up if he takes anyone off. So he probably would have left it, because that's what I would do. And best case scenario, like what would he do? Would he take, Tara off, and then like they could be like, well, Ro's gonna go, and even if they said Ro's not gonna go up, and if Ro was like gone, not even in this game, the chance that they could put Tina up, I'm like, I don't think it makes that a difference to him. I mean, if Tara or Tina's up, so but I think they would have said Ro's going up, and so he wouldn't have used it.
Yeah, I don't think he would have used it either. Don't think so at all. So they're kind of all talking in the head of household. Definitely Jed and Ty were there. Ty was in a bath, and they're just remembering like the trauma that they went through with Vic's head of household and her putting up Latoya, and how she did them so dirty. And so that's what we've been saying this whole time, is that like she hasn't been thinking about how people feel about the moves that she's making. And so I do
and Tashawn and Jedson do a really good job of like really weighing out their options, and that moment really allowed me to appreciate them even more, because I was like, and I'm not team them, but I was like, oh, okay, this is something that you are really genuinely, you're not blinded by that they're not on my team, like you're like making like really smart decisions of kind of what you were saying before, like people who kind of lay out, and there wasn't many of that in the house. Well, now we're kind of seeing a little bit more of it, where they lay out everything in front of them and really decide like what is our options. This is someone that we aren't working with, but they're weaker, versus someone who's done us dirty, did Latoya dirty. What's our best move here? And so yeah, I think they're thinking about it in a really strategic, well-rounded way, which is good on them, because I mean that's how you need to handle the whole game. So
I kind of was a little bit of a mini eye roll when Tara started crying about the fact that Vic was most likely going to get backdoored, because it's kind of like, this is the game that you're playing, and like,
yeah, I mean, I think overall it's like you understand that, but like maybe it was a moment that they caught where you like realize, because she's on the block now herself and it could happen to her, maybe she realizes that you're taking a moment away from someone who really wants
to be there. That's true.
And so I was like, I'm always a little forgiving for those kind of things, because it is an eye roll moment for me too, for sure. But I'm like, this is all editing and then putting together. So maybe they caught a moment of just this realization, because she's in that situation. So
well, and Tina does remind her that she's playing for her family to remember that. But I guess it's because what ends up happening after, which I think is just really funny. We'll talk about it in like a moment. That it's a bit of an eye roll moment to see this, like, Tara being so humanized and like, has such a good heart feeling towards Victoria. I just don't know. I mean, I agree with you. I think that she did have a realization that, she's taking, her staying means that somebody that really wants to be there, that's been playing with all their heart, it would be most likely going home. And so I get it, but she's just not that nice. So I'm just like, frig you, Tara. Like, I don't believe you.
It's easier when you hate people, and I wish there were more of that in Big Brother in general. I just love when people like hate each other on the show. I'm like, like you need a little bit of Rachel in there, where it's just kind of like they hate certain people and they just want them out. Like I do love a little bit of that sometimes, and they're just, everyone kind of likes each other this season, which is fine. But
so we're seeing a little bit of you know, Ty talking to Vic and Vic saying like, I would never do you dirty. Like I'm 100% with the Ghost Peppers. Like, you know, Jed enters and she's just reiterating the fact that like, love you guys. Like we're working together, like us to the end, blah, blah, blah. Even Beth is now lying to Vic. And Vic's telling her that you're doing such a good job. Your HOH is amazing. Vic does not feel nervous at all. And we can tell this because at the veto ceremony, Ro obviously is going to use the veto on himself, take himself off, and I'm gonna remind you guys what Beth says. So, she talks about lies, manipulation, backstabbing. Things are about to get spicy. Vic, take a seat on the block.
And Vic's like,
she was shook.
She was
shocked.
And then she was like, girl. But then let's give Victoria some credit. And I really appreciated this. Cut to DR, and she's like, you know, yeah, I am I should be the one that you should be trying to backdoor right now, kind of a thing. Like she was like, I appreciate these types of moves. So I think that's like a really kind of mature way of looking at it. I mean, your life's on the line, so you got to do some work. But I was like really impressed that she wasn't. I was expecting her to be kind of fed all these lines and being like, you know what, Beth, I'm coming for, like, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I really kind of liked, like, she was like, yeah, you should go for me.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there, because she basically says she applauds the moves like this, and when she's watching, she loves moves like this. I don't think they showed this on the show, but hi, Moses. Production tipped her off, though. So yes, kind of production tipped her off. So in the diary room at some point, somebody said something to Victoria, and she mentioned it on the feed to, I believe it was Jed and Ty, or maybe it was everybody, like all the Ghost Passwords, not sure. And she says like, oh yeah, I had an idea because of the bananas, like whatever. So they call production bananas, and you hear over the speaker like, stop talking about production. But production gets friggin' petty with them. So they put the whole house on, as a have-not, on slop, on like cold showers, and they put a bunch of bananas by the fridge, like a mob boss mood, like, don't be talking about production here.
When was this?
It's on the feeds.
Like, so, but like this week.
Yeah. Like
they did this because they were talking about production?
Yeah, when Victoria said that production tipped her off a little bit about her, like with the questioning that they were asking her, she had an inkling that maybe she was going to be going up as a renom. And so she that morning made everybody breakfast, and obviously like laying it on even thicker than she had been. And so, you know, when she mentioned that bananas was kind of gave her some inklings of like her be going up, they did not like that, and they had to show them who's boss by.
Oh, I don't like that though. I'm like, but listen, you know, here's the thing. There's producers behind all these are shows, and that was kind of mean. Yeah. And producers aren't always the nicest people.
Wait, what's kind of mean though? That I don't think it was that mean of her putting it up. Like, Victoria has been lying. She has been manipulating. She hasn't been the best alliance member. So I don't think it was that mean, BB.
Or is that like, that was kind of mean, Beth? Did someone say that? Are you quoting someone?
I think it was when talking about the how her nomination speech. Canada Production throws shade out. So vindictive. I know, like a bunch of bananas. That's so cold. Sorry, I cut you off with that was kind of mean Beth comment. What were you saying?
Oh, I don't even know. I'm just thinking if they did that to me, I'd be like throwing my mic in the pool and be like,
oh, you were saying that they're creating a TV show.
What's that? I was saying what?
Like they were creating a TV show. They had to produce this thing. That's where you're kind of going.
No, I was just talking about like producers being nasty or something like that. Like I think that's what I was saying. I was just gonna be like, you know, there's producers behind everything, and this is a TV show, and there are some amazing producers, directors, people on set out there, and there's also some nasty ones. Trust me, I've worked with all of them, and so so I can see it happening. I don't like it, and I don't stand for it, and I would have thrown my mic in the pool, a hot tub.
Yeah. So it was definitely a mob move of the production with the bunch of bananas. I hope they show that, but they won't. Actually, they won't. Damn it! It's so funny though.
No.
So that's pretty much what went down this episode. Just to, I don't know if they better show it. Should I keep you out of the know a little bit? All I can say, okay, the only spoiler they're going to give, so if you don't want to know kind of what happens, it'll probably be showed tomorrow before the eviction, but there is a house meeting. Victoria calls a house meeting and calls some people out. It's like about 45 minutes of just dirty laundry being aired. It was a pretty decent house meeting. And yeah, so hopefully they show a lot of it on the episode tomorrow. But
is that like a good idea to call a house meeting when you're I've called a house meeting before too, as we know, but I was the HOH. I was in power. So I mean, is that a good idea when you're like?
Well, Beth was kind of
last ditch effort, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Do this. Yeah, you should do this because there was some inconsistencies with some stories. Some he said, she said that weren't lining up, and so Beth's like, well, I want to see people denying what either has been said or not been said in front of me. I need to see this I need to see this out in the open. So that's why Beth wanted it. And obviously Victoria's using it as an opportunity to save herself.
Well, I will be commenting tomorrow night when you're on at just shortly after 10 live, because can't wait for this house meeting.
I know. I mean, I hope they show a lot of it. Otherwise, I can give you a link to watch the whole house meeting if you want. So, other than Dan's funeral and Vanessa Russo, when nominated against Shelley, do dramatic flips attempts work? What are some other examples? Flips.
Yeah, I don't. Then that's what I was talking about. Like, I don't know that they do. Like, it has to be such a specific. You have to be in the right position. You have to have the right people around you. And it kind of needs to be on shaky ground, I feel like, for it to happen. So
it could happen maybe if, say, Jed and Ty are up on the block. And like they're all like Ty or Jed because of the fact that he's so good at competitions. But like maybe they flip it over to Ty because Ty is better with people, kind of the same Brayden argument. And like, if Ty stays in, he's able to probably slip away and not be the target anymore. So I could see a flip actually happening with Jed and Ty.
And I don't know. I mean, like, I can't think of any examples, but I have a terrible memory other than like Dan's funeral for sure, because they are so rare, that they actually are successful. Yeah, can't think of any right now other than that, the ones you've mentioned.
People saving themselves on the block.
I mean, listen, if you think you're going and you have nothing else, then try what you can.
Let me flip in BBCan9. I don't remember it, which is bad. Who was that when? Did Erica? No, Erica went out on the double. Johnny's head of household. I don't know. So Vic has no chance. What percentage do you give her this week, Vic?
I haven't seen the live feed, so I don't know. You'd have to tell me because I don't know what everyone's conversations have been since those.
You're praising them for kind of looking at both sides, but they are actually fluctuating back and forth a lot. They're like, oh, maybe we shouldn't, or maybe we should, or maybe we shouldn't, or maybe we should. So they actually are flipping back and forth, but they keep on coming back to the fact like, no, Vic can't be trusted. She could turn on us and she wouldn't care. She could lie to our face and it doesn't matter. Like they keep on coming back. She's more dangerous. We may not get a chance to get her out. If we have to put her up on a block again, she will do this again. We might as well take this shot while we have it. So I would say,
sorry, what would you give them? What was the percentage?
Maybe 10% chance that she can stay.
Oh wow. That's good. I think she should go. Is there 6 people voting this week? It's Tina, Brayden, Ro,
Ty,
Jed, and Kiefer. 6, right? So yeah, in a tie it would be up to Beth. So
like Victoria should hope for like,
and if it was a tie, there's no way that Beth would keep her. There's no way you pull that kind of move and keep that person in the house. Like no way. That would be the dumbest thing. Yeah, no. So I think she would need in order to stay, she would absolutely need 4 people to vote for her. And you're not going to get She did Braden dirty. You're not going to get Tina with Tara up on the block, and Roe's not going to. You're not going to get Roe. So I mean,
maybe Roe. So one thing that you don't see is they do have a little bit of a talk after the house meeting.
I think Roe's too smart for that. I think he knows that he, you know, even though Tina and like Tina and Tara are a duo, it's keeping a weak duo, but still a duo in the house, and someone who you know wants those two out, which is what he wants as well. So they might be conversations and whatever, but I wouldn't buy it for a second. I don't think there's any way of her staying because I don't think she would need 4 votes now talking it out, and she's not getting 4 votes.
Yeah, I'm giving 10% just because they're fluctuating back and forth, and that's including Beth fluctuating. So she is sometimes weighing out her option there with keeping her, and so that's like giving 10%, but that's like a very generous 10% shot.
It could be people making some really silly moves if they kept her in the house for themselves. Yeah, at this point.
I mean, it's better, obviously, for Jed and Ty. Maybe, like, she might be pissed now that this move has happened, so maybe they don't have.
Oh, yeah. I think for Jed and Ty, it's, like, definitely, like, they can weigh it out. It's a 50-50, whatever, like, whatever they decide. But everyone else, I just don't see voting Tara out because of the place in the game that they are and where she is and all that stuff, so.
Hundo. Well, I mean, things are getting pretty spicy. This is the most fun I've had recapping seasons of Big Brother in a long time. So, I mean, the show's pretty good. They did a good job casting, I feel, this season.
Do something with the ballroom. Do something with it.
Apparently, Victoria has been searching in the ballroom looking for some sort of secret video or something. Absolutely. So
all the arrows are pointing down. I'd be like digging everywhere, and
so
I'd be tearing those balls apart or something with the kitchen knives or something.
But yes, something has to happen with them. I just don't know if it's been placed yet. Okay, my last question before we sign off. Do you think it's a possibility that there will be a buyback or like a battle back?
I don't like. Have they been keeping them in? Are they sequestered? Like, are they
not now that it's jury phase? So
is jury starting this week?
Yes. So 2 people said last week. It's going to be a double eviction.
Yeah, double eviction. That's right. No, I don't think there would be. I think that they're the double eviction. I'm like, didn't we count out those weeks and there was like a short season anyway? So there might be like a week where someone could not go, but I don't know that there will be a sort of a battle back. Like maybe there's a week where someone can save themselves with the power.
Even with their superstar Vic gone, you don't think that they'll figure something out?
I mean, I think it's more likely that they have kind of like open up this power that they're in the balls this week where Vic happens to find it because she was digging there. I think that could happen. Absolutely. Do I think they would let her go and then come back? No.
All right. Well, thanks guys in the chat for hanging out with us. Moses, BBCan, Natalie, and obviously talking with you, Jonathan, with some great insights about this game. So if you haven't done so already, please follow Reality Pop, your new hub for all things reality TV. And joining me on the block tomorrow will be Jojo O'Toole. Are you working on anything that you want people to follow you, Jonathan, or is that it? Just deuces.
Oh, I had like something prepared or something, and I've totally forgotten. So next time.
Next time.
I don't know what I was gonna say.
Next week for sure. Yeah, thank you to BBCan. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care. If I can press this button.